Good morning and welcome back to Photofinish Garage. This morning we're going to be working on a 2013 Ford Edge Sport. We're going to be replacing the rear axle seal and the differential. This one is an all-wheel drive. The reason why I'm going to show you here is that the axle seal is actually, you can see it's been leaking onto the exhaust and leaking out of the differential. Now, I've already replaced this side because this was my main problem side. But while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and replace the passenger side just as a preventative maintenance. And then I'll take this to the car wash and get all this cleaned up. So, this is going to be a step-by-step. And so, watch and enjoy. At the very end, I'll show you some footage of what that side actually looked like, the driver's side, before I repaired it, so you can get an idea. All right, stay tuned. So the tools you're going to need for this job, I've outlined them here and I'm going to review that here in a second. One piece of advice here is if you already have to do your brakes, now would be a good time to do your brakes. If you have a wheel bearing that's possibly grinding, now is also a good time to replace your wheel bearings. Because pretty much all of this is going to have to come off. So some of the sockets you're going to need, that's a 19 for your lug nuts. This is a 15. This will be for the caliper bracket bolts, and also the bolts that hold the hub in, the wheel bearing. Size 32 socket, which will be for the axle nut. Just a various 15 wrench as well, just in case you need to switch up your tools. You'll need a size 8. This is going to be for the ABS wheel speed sensor. Again, 15 on a 3/8 ratchet. That'll help with our wheel bearing. You'll see that in a minute. Various hammers. I have a rubber mallet. I have a regular hammer, flathead screwdriver, pry bar, a 3/8 ratchet with a 13 on it. The 13 is in case you can't get the whole caliper bracket assembly off, and you have to take the caliper off of the bracket, which I did just to re-lube my slide pins on my brakes. And then some kind of torque stick. I'm using a long extension to put all the wheels and stuff back on, and then a wood block. I'm using a 1/2 inch ratchet, 1/2 inch impact. You can use whatever you want to get your wheels off. Okay, that's the tools. All right, so what you want to do, of course, is go ahead and take your caliper off. Now you could also, like I said, take off your caliper bracket bolts, which are down here. One, and let's see, one, and the second one is right there. And that would actually allow you to take this whole assembly off, but I'm going to go ahead and re-grease my hardware and my slide pins, so that's why I'm taking my brakes off. Okay, that's why you need your 15 ratchet. Okay, looks like it stopped spinning there, but that happened to me earlier, so that's why you need that 15 wrench. I'm sorry, 15 wrench. All right, now we have an opportunity to take our bracket off. So those are also two 15s. I do want to back up before I continue going here. You'll need a pipe, some kind of pipe. I'll show you what that's going to be for in a minute. And of course you need the oil seal. I know you guys saw that and was like, why didn't he mention it? This is the part number you need, 710969, National Oil Seal. I think both of these were off of Rock Auto. They were, I think it was about 30, I think they were like $30 a piece, somewhere around there. So expect to spend 60 bucks for the seals. And that's not the only reason you'll be needing to use the pipe. All right, so now we're to the hub. Again, 32 millimeter axle nut socket, and you're gonna have 4 15s. You'll see them 1, 2, 3, and of course 4. And again, if this is if you need to figure out how to replace the wheel bearing, all these steps we've done and a few after this is going to be how you replace your wheel bearing. All right, so now we're going to get to the 4 bolts. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, these are 15s. I'm going to break them loose with my 15 and then use my electric ratchet to get them out. And there's your wheel speed sensor, your ABS sensor, so that'll come out. That's what you need, that size 8 for. So let's actually go ahead and pull that out. And then we're going to go ahead and back off our 32 millimeter axle nut. So when you get that loose, try to keep all your bolts together so you know where to find it. Now, the ABS does get stuck here in the spindle, and that's what your flathead is for here. And you just want to be very gentle with this. It is plastic and it is old. And all you're doing is just wiggling it. All right, and all we want to do is just wiggle it. You probably could spray some WD-40 on there or something like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this out and then come back. See, I got it freed up. All right, so you get the idea. Again, this is also a good time to check your ABS sensor, change it if you need to. It runs right up there, and you can follow that wire and change it if you need to, no problem. All right, so that's out. Our bolts are loose. Now we're gonna loosen up our 32 millimeter. If you're wondering what gun this is a Cobalt. This is the new 24 volt max. I think it's the 24 volt XR is what it's called. 199 bucks at Lowe's. All right, so from this point, again, you're just going to back out your 15. So let me go ahead and do that. One thing I do want to mention, and I think I mentioned it in the later part of this video, now's a good time to replace your wheel bearings. Some symptoms that you'll exhibit when your wheel bearing's going out is you're going to hear a growling noise, like a whoa, 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 when the vehicle's up to speed. Only when the wheels are rotating. That's how you're going to know you're going to have a wheel bearing issue. That's what happened to my wife and I with this vehicle. I thought it was a bad differential. I think I have a video on the channel with me removing that differential, trying to suss out what the problem was, and it turned out to be a wheel bearing that I had already replaced. I went with Detroit Axle, and their wheel bearings are junk, so I ended up having to replace it again. Now you will notice all of this is coming out relatively easy. That is because, as you can see, I've done this work already, and I anti-seized all of this, all these parts. So usually what happens is this wheel bearing gets rusted or seized inside of the spindle, which makes it extremely difficult. When I first replaced the wheel bearings, it took me probably 2 hours to beat out the old wheel bearing because it was so seized. So you might encounter that. So it's not gonna potentially be as easy as it looks now. So just keep that in mind. All right, so the next step, now that we got this out, is we're gonna free the axle from the differential. So all you do there is get your pry bar and you put it in between the axle and the differential and pop it out. You can also use a flathead screwdriver. I found that a combination of both seem to work. It really just depends on, you know, your angle and how lucky you are. But the pry bar usually works, but it's kind of hard to do with one hand, so let me go ahead and pop it out. All right, so I got it out. One thing I like to do is when you put your you put your pry bar in between the axle, and you can use this bracket as leverage, and you just bounce on it and it pops out just like this. Oops, I almost dropped the phone. So now that we got the axle loose, I'm just gonna pull it out through here. Again, if you have to change your axle, now would be the best time. You literally have to pull the axle out to do this. As you can see, my axle and my boots, just fine. All right, so that's what we're going after, is that seal right there. This one, as you can see, is kind of leaking down there in that bottom right corner on your screen. But for the most part, the other side was giving me hell, so that's why I did that side first. I want to make sure, just in case I ran out of time today, that the main issue was fixed. All right, so from here, we'll grab either our pry bar, we're gonna grab our pry bar and our flathead screwdriver. Okay, so now we got a good angle on it, and what you want to do is just pry this seal out. Now, you could use a seal puller. That is actually the appropriate tool for this. And this is going to come out in two pieces. There's like an inside piece you can see that's moving, and then there's going to be like the outside sheath, so to speak. And all we're doing is gently prying on that. You see that? So this is that first part I was telling you about. Oops. That's the first part I was telling you about that comes out. Then you still have to deal with the housing. See this housing? So it's right there. So that's coming out next. And that, I use, let's see here. Yeah, we use our flathead, and we kind of just got on it from different angles. You could use a hammer, pry up here, pop it up there. Use your pry bar. Let's see if I can get it in here. So we just want to be real gentle on this. So I'm going to put this down so I can pry on this and pry around it gently and get it out. Okay, be right back. Just want to show the angle that I have on this. Just got some movement here. There you go. Pry it, pop out. One thing that I like to do to prep my new seals, I'll just rub some multi-purpose grease on it, and then I'm going to clean up, or yeah, I'll go ahead and clean up that entry point there. Make sure it's just free of any debris, and we're going to go ahead and try to seat this. All right, got the area all cleaned up. Oops. All right, so of course you're not going to get it to seat by hand, so you're just trying to really get it to sit in there by itself. Not like that. Hang on. All right, so I just have it sitting there. Now we're gonna need that block. See, it fell out on me. So So now we're going to need that block. Essentially what you're going to do is get the seal to sit in there and use that block as a flat surface. Then I used the pipe, put it together, and I ran the pipe through here, and then I used my hammer and I basically hit it from out here. So let me kind of demonstrate what I'm trying to explain to you, since I don't think I'm going to be able to do it with the one hand. So essentially, hang on, let me get everything set up. I'll be right back. One way to also get this thing to sit is just to use a rubber hammer and just bang around the edge, and that'll at least get it in there long enough for you to get your thoughts together. This is what I was trying to explain. So you're going to get your wood block here and lay it flush on your seal. And as you can see, there's the pipe that we're running through our hub there. And we're going to ultimately, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. Let me see if I can set this up a certain way here. Man, that pipe is blocking it. Ultimately, oh man, you're trying to run your pipe across. Let's see, here we go. Right? And then you can bang on that end to seat the seal. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and I'll come back when it's done. So I found two different ways of success with this. One is to orient the block flat, and you can also orient the block horizontal as well, which still gets across the edge of the seal evenly. We're trying to evenly distribute force. As you can see, my seal is almost seated, so I still got a little bit more work to do, but the seal's almost seated. So I just got done banging everything in, so let's check our progress here. Alright, so the seal is seated and flush. So we're ready to put everything back together. One thing you want to do too, once you get everything, you can just check your fluid level there. As you saw, mine was dripping out of here, so we might still be topped off, but I am gonna check it as well. Might not be accurate because the car is on a hill, so I'll bring when I get the wheels back on, I'll bring the bottom end down a little bit to try to get more level. So anyways, now it's just a reversal. You know, you're going to be putting your axle back in. Sometimes these axles get a little bit hard to put back in. One way that I found is you're going to want to flex this joint and basically use its own axle as a hammer against itself to drive itself back in. So sometimes I pull on this outside here and I just rock it. So I might have to use two hands. I'll be right back. All right, so I just want to show you. I grabbed my hand here with my left hand, used my right hand here, and I just basically shoved it and flexed it and beat it in so that it popped itself back in. No problem. All right, now it's time for the hub. Again, I would recommend using some kind of anti-seize compound in this area, just in case you have to do this job a second time or have to change one of these components in the future. One thing you'll notice about the hub, the upper holes are wider than the bottom holes, so you can't mess this up. This only goes in one way. Put our hub back in and tightening up our 15s. There is a torque spec for this. I want to say it was in the 40s. I'm not quite certain, but you can look it up and you can torque yours down, no problem. I do know that the, hold on one second. So I'm gonna come back with my 1/2" ratchet and put some more on it. I'll be right back. Feel free to use your pipe again to crank on it a little bit more, just to make sure. Time to put our axle nut back on. I'm gonna use my 1/2" impact wrench. This torque setting is pretty high. I believe it's 225 foot-pounds or 275 foot-pounds. Again, feel free to look it up and you can do what you like. I'm gonna use my gun. It's proved sufficient in the past. You don't want to hit it too hard because you will strip it out. I've done that before and I've had to rethread, repair the threads. Re-thread and repair the thread, sorry. All right, so that's it. From this point, I'm gonna end the video. The hardest part's done. You know, I've been recording this video for 21 minutes. I've been at it probably 30 minutes with trying to put the phone down and bang stuff in, but it's really not that hard of a job, assuming that, you know, your bolts are not rusty and that you have all your tools and your parts. But thanks for watching. Again, at the very end of this video, you are going to see how bad the other side was leaking, just in case it's something for you to check on your vehicle. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Good morning. Welcome back to Photofinish Garage. By the time you're looking at this part of the video, it's going to be inserted into the end of an actual DIY video. I decided that I was going to go ahead and at least show what we're doing this morning. And so I am. So I didn't record the disassembly on this, but this is for the 2013 Ford Edge Sport all-wheel drive. Today we're going to be doing an axle seal, which you can see in there is leaking pretty bad. And it's leaking onto the exhaust, so you can see. And then it was covering the axle as well. So I'll do the DIY on the other side. I needed to get this side addressed because this is the only side that's leaking. It's really not that hard of a job, but that's also assuming that you loosened up these bolts or have replaced these bolts in the past. When I've already replaced the wheel bearings on this vehicle, and I've also replaced the axle. So you can see I have a lot of anti-seize on there. So my nuts all came off easy. But when I first did the wheel bearing, it was rusted and seized inside the spindle here. So you might run into that, so just be careful there. But anyways, I just wanted to make a quick video to show what I was doing, and then I'll do a DIY. So you're going to be watching this after you see the DIY.